and feeling this way. I wanted to just go back into the sort of organic, warm sensation that I had just a moment before. So I realized that this sort of reality is a gigantic test, and we come here willingly because we want to test ourselves. So that's sort of more. Go ahead.
Yeah, the interesting that you mentioned that, just and that kind of philosophy rings true to me also in a way that, I mean, it in a way it is a hell, but not in the sense that it's a literal hell, that it's a bad thing. But
not that there's no beauty in this world. There's plenty of beauty. I associate it with hell only because we're sort of detached from the eternal, and we sort of forget that there's more to us than this is physical bodies, and that we go through, pain and detachment from our loved ones, and it's sort of like the only place we could have this kind of spiritual evolution is with these boundaries, and not knowing about UFOs and not knowing about the afterlife. It's sort of the only way we could truly test ourselves in this sort of state of evolution. And it's not the only state of evolution, as I've mentioned. I think that you ascend to fourth density and upward. I think there's lots of different physical realms of existence, and eventually you sort of just take a light form or a spirit body, permanently. But we come here to learn these sort of lessons because they're very interesting and elaborate, as we've been talking about. I mean, just this synchromysticism phenomenon is just, with the detachment from the eternal, not knowing, what death holds, or, having big mysteries, and being able to analyze these sort of synchronicities in the world is so beautiful. And you couldn't do that in a spirit world where everything was revealed. Do you see what I'm saying?
Exactly. Again, it's almost a point to it again, and it goes back to the idea that I think I talked about earlier about the tragedy in that sense, that it takes something. Well, you need to be detached from it to rediscover it, or to appreciate the beauty of it again. And if you say, if what you say there is true, that we actually reincarnate and live so many lifetime, for millions of years, who the heck knows how long this is or has been going on, we potentially actually might need a kind of a breather from it, or that actually our experiences goes in these cycles again, a little bit of more connected to everything in the source, but then for a short period of time we're kind of thrown into this dense reality, a prison of the flesh basically. But the rediscovery of the beauty of the universe is a fantastic process in itself, I think,
Precisely. And even with these, sort of barriers of the flesh, we still have these Alice in Wonderland, wormholes to follow. And we're never completely devoid of the spiritual realm. And that's what the main point is. Even, the idea is that this is temporary. It's a learning position. And, it's very well put. The psychedelic experiences that we have in this body are glimpses into a realm that's more familiar to us in some ways. And we come here to experience the absence of it, or the absence of light. It's sort of, it's the checkerboard, the white and black checkerboard, and all these gray-like figures like Audrey de Grey and Alex Gray and all these people in the sort of middle zone of it all are showing us the way, So it's very, very curious phenomenon. It's life is truly magical in all aspects.
It is, definitely. I want to talk a little bit more about your, I guess, where you get your inspiration from, or if there is any, special researchers out there that you're very, that you appreciate very much. If there is special, literature that you read, or if you have something like that, Well,
I'm currently reading, Lawrence Gardner's book, The Lost Secrets of the Sacred Ark. I love Daniel Pinchback. I just finished 2012, which was an amazing book. I do read some magical texts and meditative texts, like Peter Carroll. That's one of my favorite books. Labyrinth and Psychonaut. I actually have a passage I wanted to read from that book. Yeah. It's called Transubstantiation. I think this sums up why I like this book so much. The penultimate metamorphosis, the achievement of constant magical consciousness. In all things know that I am this illusion. In all things know that also I am not this illusion. But there is no thing more ineffectual than to be always half in the world and half out of it. Thus at any moment of one's doing, be in it, identify completely, live it. And in the interstices between all one's doing, reside in the void, be vacuous, have no mind. Know that by this one may attain to complete freedom from the consequences of one's actions. And that's probably one of my favorite books on the magical process. Probably the only book you ever would need to read on sigil crafting and magical meditation. That's Labyrinth and Psychonaut by Peter Carroll.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely have to check that out.
I love obviously Michael Tsarion. I think he's a genius, and Richard Hoagland. These are all educators and spiritual prophets in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Widener and Divine Cosmos. That whole website is just wonderful. I use a lot of their quotes sometimes from Coast to Coast. I'll throw those into one of my videos as to make a more poignant affect of the post itself. And the synchro circles are really my main focus of where I get my inspiration from. Like Jake's been a huge reference for me, and Todd Campbell from Through the Looking Glass. So all these guys as a conglomerate, they really kind of push me forward to exceed my boundaries, I guess you would say.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a new kind of, definitely a new kind of field that has opened up here, and it's great to see that so many people are getting involved in it and exploring it, and again that there is not any kind of rules to it. People go in with them what they have in their background and just develop their ideas and again the potential is endless, and since there's no rules or do nots, I guess you could go wherever you want with it. It's great to see.
Not at all. It's one foot leads to the other, one thought leads to another thought that spirals just completely out of control. I mean, you could take something as simple as a phone booth and take it into infinity, like the TARDIS in Doctor Who is this time traveling Stargate flying phone booth, and then you have things like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure that has a phone booth in it. So they're flying and sailing through the universe in this thing, and then of course Keanu Reeves from The Matrix would be in that film as well, taking this sort of TARDIS or a time and relative dimension in space, through the cosmos, and it doesn't. And then you have Colin Farrell in the movie Phone Booth as well, and he's in Daredevil. He has a gigantic target over his third eye, so you have sort of this synchronistic thing. You have this formation that starts to go, and then you have Superman who changes into his costume in a phone booth, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And these are just things that just pop out of your mind, and they spiral into infinity, and you can't stop them. So
exactly.
It's not an art form. It's not an art form with limitation, and there's really no judgment involved. And I think that's what makes everybody really excited to be a part of it, and excited to sort of fuel this new art form that I feel, if enough people catch on to, and it's kind of explored in more mediums, books and larger presentations, DVDs and movies and conferences and interviews like this, it's going to be phenomenal. This is the most entertaining stuff of my life. There's nothing that compares. There's nothing that could satisfy me except for maybe something I do with the guitar and music, or something I create in that fashion. I mean, I'm not gonna get any kind of any more enjoyment out of life than sort of taking this rabbit hole journey and seeing where it leads to, I suppose.
Exactly. And again, the information that is coming out now, also of course regards to history and hidden history and all of that, we can again, I mean, it's just we're at the beginning cusp of this, and again we're at the brink of something totally new, and we've just been into all of this for a few years. Really, if you look at it, you can even say that actually the art of film itself hasn't been around for that long, and again we're just at the beginning of it, and who the heck knows where this is going to go in the future years here.
Right, very, very precise and very correct, and we need to start sort of realizing some of these symbolic symbols in these films, and like Nicolas Cage, for instance, is coming out with the movie National Treasure, which is it's a sequel to National Treasure, actually, heavily infused with Masonic themes. And guess what day it's coming out? The day before the winter solstice. And even the opening credits have all of these sort of Masonic seeing eyes and baseball diamonds and just all kinds of craziness, and it's coming out the day before the winter solstice, and that's, of course, 2012. 5 years later, that's going to be the date of 2012 and the whole ascension process. So, someone knows something, and someone is, releasing these things on purpose at certain astrological timing.
Well, exactly, and I also think that a lot of the creative people in Hollywood actually have a field day and an endless source of wonderful information to dive into when it comes to the internet and all the people that are actually writing there. And in some cases, I would guess actually that a lot of people would have if this was the case, that they would actually have to have some kind of credits, in the end titles or whatever.
Of course. I mean, Nicolas Cage owns Saturn Films. You know what that does for a synchromystic's brain? It's like complete meltdown. He's in The Wicker Man, being smothered by a basket of, the disappearing bees. He owns Saturn Films, and now he's in, National Treasure 2, and he's releasing it on the winter solstice. It's so completely amazing. People need to start questioning why these occurrences are happening at these particular times. And even if it's not some grand conspiracy and these people aren't plotting to, release these on certain dates or to have certain symbolism in it, it's absolutely tied to celestial alignments, and it's absolutely tied to collective consciousness. So that's what needs to be explored, really.
Exactly. It's a message there, and I think that the message wants out, as it were, and it will find any means necessary to reach the larger audience, I think. Sure,
and you have this is really a bizarre sync I have on my blog. You ever watch the show Futurama?
Oh yeah.
There's an episode called The Sting where they go to this intergalactic beehive and they collect royal jelly, and they come back and actually Fry gets stabbed through the chest by a stinger, and he gets killed by one of the bees. And they actually reanimate him with royal jelly. And the whole episode revolves around Leela, or the Cyclops, having these sort of hallucinations and thinking that Fry's alive when he's not, and she's sort of hallucinating off of the royal jelly. So they kind of combine the bee's honey and the royal jelly to a psychedelic. And then what drives it over the absolute top is when she's having one of these kind of hallucinogenic visions, she's flying out in space and she sees Fry's coffin, and she opens the coffin, and guess what's inside the coffin? The 2001 Space Odyssey Stargate sequence.
Oh yeah, I remember now. That's right, exactly. Isn't that interesting?
What the hell? I mean, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, why would that be in there? Why? Because in the collective consciousness, the psychedelic experience in these movies are all inching towards something, but they're not saying it on the surface. Much like these sort of Alice in Wonderland themed movies don't write out and tell you right in your face it's about Alice in Wonderland. It's an underlying subconscious element. And I think that with the time loop theory and the Atlanteans, if we can learn from that and sort of take the first step to solving this problem and rectifying these sort of dark entities or archons that are manipulating us, we could win this time and we could evolve and not have to face another catastrophe or apocalypse. A lot of people think that we need an apocalypse to make a utopia, but I think we can do it without that. We could do it ourselves.
I agree with you, and I hope that will be the case, and I don't know if this is about that a lot of people have to wake up or whatever, or if this is just about a few waking up. We will actually see what those who are around, at least as it were, will see what becomes of all of this. But again, it's what I think that is important to remember here is that it's an interesting time to be alive, and things are going on. It's amazing.
I think it's the most interesting time to live through an ascension or some kind of phoenix rebirth. I mean, how many lifetimes would you have to live to sort of experience something like this? Some kind of galactic alignment that only happens every 26,000 years, where the actual DNA in your body is going to shift and alter. It's quite amazing.
It is. Listen, Steve, this has been a wonderful conversation, and do continue your excellent work, and we'd love to have you back on the radio program sometime if you have time for us. It's been a very excellent. I want to leave the last few minutes here to you, so you can mention your website, and in case there is anything else you want to run by us.
Okay, sure, Henrik. It's been a pleasure. Any station like Red Eye said, unplugged so many minds. It's just we're just so lucky that you guys are doing this, and we're so lucky that you're out there, doing this kind of research and making this more popular in pop culture for sure.
Thank you.
My blog spot is basically sort of new. I'm just sort of writing articles here and there that I come up with. It's labyrinthofthepsychonaut.blogspot.com, and that's where I'll post anything related to DVD releases or the book I'm writing or any shirts or merchandise I decide to put on here. I've never been too good at green magic, though. I don't really like our archaic money systems. But you can also find my videos at youtube.com/soundlessdawn, and not like the mafia mob boss Dawn, but the day, D-A-W-N. And that's about all I have right now. As I said, I've only been doing this for 4 months, so hopefully it'll grow into something more, and then next time I'm on, we could have more to talk about.
Absolutely. Keep up the good work, Steve. Again, this has been an absolute pleasure. Keep up the good work, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks a lot, Henrik.